So today we're making a pasta genovese featuring Second Chances Farm arugula and citrus basil. Now pasta genovese is in the style of genovese, which means we're using ingredients that you would typically see in that area. We're gonna do this with a little healthful gluten-free pasta. Now I know a lot of people don't really get into gluten-free pasta. They don't like the texture, but I can tell you that gluten-free pastas have come a long way. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I have some water already boiling here. If you're cooking this at home, you wanna make sure you drop that pot of water on to boil. Depending on which stove you have, it might take a little extra time. But we wanna make sure that that pot is at a rolling boil before we start to cook this pasta. Now I have some kosher salt. You want to use kosher salt instead of iodized salt. Kosher salt is going to have a lower melting point, which is going to give you a more thorough salinity and seasoning throughout your food. The problem with iodized salt is the crystals are a little bit more tight. So if you use that, generally speaking, you have to get to a certain temperature before you start to taste the salt. You could accidentally oversalt things. So we're going to go with kosher salt into our pot here. And we're gonna season it fairly aggressively. We want it to be salty like the sea, because since we have a starchy pasta here, we need enough salt in that water to penetrate that pasta. Now this particular gluten-free pasta is one made with red lentils and cauliflower. Now you will see a lot of chefs that will take this pasta, it's a dried pasta, and they'll break it. For me, this noodle was made the way that it was made for a purpose and a texture, so I don't like to break it up. I like to put it in the pot just as it is and allow it to gently cook. Now we'll have to agitate it at a couple points, but I'm just gonna drop it in the pot there, spread it out a little bit, and as it starts to cook, at least part of that pasta, then it'll gently fall down into the pot. I have a little bit of olive oil here. You know, some people believe in olive oil in the pot to keep the pasta from sticking together. I like to use it as just an additional flavor adding ingredient. So I also have my saute pan here. It's on a medium heat. I'm gonna turn it down just a tad. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil into the pan. That's gonna let me know exactly how hot this pan is. Now, when your olive oil is hot enough, what it will do in the saute pan is it actually will ripple like the top of a pool in the wind. So we're gonna make a little bit of handmade pesto. So I have some fresh garlic cloves here that I've just smashed gently. I'm gonna add in some of our citrus basil here. We're doing this old school in a mortar and pestle. So this has a nice weight to it, so it should anchor it down. You don't have to worry about putting a towel underneath of it or anything like that. In the meantime, I just want to take and check our pasta, stir it up a little bit, make sure that it's not sticking together. We want to give it one of these numbers where we just kind of let it fall individually into the pot. We want to make sure that all of our pasta separates, because that beautiful starch, we don't want it to clump up. We want it to help our sauce adherence later on. So I have the basil in here, I have the garlic, and I'm going to use some Parmesan cheese. Now, I would definitely recommend grating your own Parmesan cheese. If you don't have the time, then you can certainly buy grated Parmesan cheese, and that's perfectly acceptable. But the oils and the level of flavor that you get and the softness that you get from grating it yourself is really gonna make a difference. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna start working in from the sides and making our pesto. Now, I wanna get it busted up a little bit, and another little secret here at this point is to add a little bit of salt. So that salt is gonna add an abrasiveness and help break up all that basil and that garlic. Add in a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna press that in as well. And we're really looking for a smooth paste. You don't wanna add too much olive oil at one time, because what you'll get is a pesto that is separated. And then it'll be separated once you heat it up in the saute pan. So as you can see, I kind of have this thick paste in the bottom there. And what I want to do, I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. I'm going to add some fresh cracked pepper. And again, we're gonna season the food all throughout the process, so every ingredient is well seasoned, so we're not finding some gaps in our seasoning in the final product. Gonna give it a taste. I think it tastes pretty good. Those are all my favorite flavor profiles. You know, you have that beautiful unctuousness from the Parmesan cheese, saltiness. You have the pepper from the basil, and that citrus basil in particular from Second Chances Farm has this beautiful citrus note that I don't have to add lemon to this, which would be a traditional pesto ingredient. Now, many of you might already be enjoying the beautiful produce from Second Chances Farm to Table home delivery program. If not, we hope you'll enroll soon. You can find more information and become a subscriber at www.secondchancesfarm.com. You really should check it out. It's a great program. The only way to tell whether pasta is done, you can do the grandma thing where you throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks, but you really need to taste it. So we're getting close. We're not quite there. We're going to give that another couple minutes, but while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our saute pan. So our saute pan again is on a medium-high heat. Add a little bit more of that olive oil. And I have some chopped garlic here. Now that gentle sizzle that we're hearing there, that's what we want. Gonna move it around in the pan there. Then I have some cherry tomatoes. Now this is an heirloom variety of cherry tomato. We've got some purples, some yellows, some reds. I like the differences that they provide. I want to add them in at this point because I want the skins to begin to break down as a part of this pasta genovese. And I give the pan just a little bit of a shake there. I'm going to give it a season with some salt and some pepper. Fresh cracked pepper always. The reason being is it has essential oils inside of it that just taste differently if they sit on the shelf for a long period of time. And then we have some beautiful Opus 1 black garlic here. So this is fermented garlic. It's got a sweet character to it. This is certainly not a traditional ingredient in pasta genovese, but it's fantastic. We always want to balance sweet, sour, salty, and bitter in every plate that we do. This is going to add a little bit of a sweet element to it. We're going to put it in there. It is slightly dried, so we want it to just reconstitute, come back up so we have an appealing texture. Now we have Kalamata olives. Throw a couple of those in there. And for me, I always like to pour in just a tad bit of the olive juice. Gonna check our pasta again here. Delicious. It's perfectly cooked. Now we're gonna strain that pasta. Now I have a colander set over a bowl here. You can certainly set your colander in the sink, and that's fine as well. I'm gonna come back over here to our saute pan. We're gonna add a little bit more olive oil. Now we're gonna go in with that beautiful pesto we made. Make sure we get all that out of there. We went through the labor of making it. Let's not waste it. Gonna go and give that a stir. And at this point, we're going to add our arugula. So we're going to throw some of this in here. And we're not going to give it too long before we add our pasta because we just want it to kind of break down slightly. Now we're going to add in our pasta. Now the secret here, the beautiful thing about doing this in a bowl is now I have a little bit of that pasta water that I can use in the final product. So that pasta water is going to give me a little bit of extra sauce for my pasta with all the flavors in there. So we're just compounding flavors is what we're doing with this dish. I am going to give it a little drizzle of a little tiny bit more olive oil. I'm going to pull it off the flame. Little salt, little pepper. Then we're going to go ahead and plate. So when you're plating pasta, one of the things you want to remember is you want to grab the pasta by itself, and the rest of your garnishes and all of those beautiful things that you put into it will fall to the bottom so that you can put them on top at the end. So all of those tomatoes, beautiful olives, the greens, some of that garlic, the black garlic from Opus 1, all ends up in the bottom of that saute pan there. Then we're going to garnish with a little bit of our Parmesan cheese, a tad bit of that arugula. We have a beautiful plate, fresh veggies, nice and healthy. Pasta genovese with arugula and citrus basil from Second Chances Farm. We have this beautiful pasta genovese here. We also have Kevin from Second Chances Farm. He works here at the farm. He helps out with harvesting as well as he's our restaurant liaison. So we're just gonna plate up a little bit of this. Let Kevin give that a try. Here you go. Give that a try.
I'm gonna get a little bit of everything in there. Tastes better than it smells.
That's good. Got that black garlic in there, got the citrus basil, a little bit of black pepper. It's a great dish because you can taste all the ingredients separately, but then together as a group.
I have to talk now?
No, they wanted you to look up at the camera. That's what they were getting at.
At the same time.
You don't have to eat the whole. You don't have to eat the whole thing.
But I want to eat the whole thing.
I know, and I understand.